Good morning and welcome to this edition of DMS 3000 News Live. It is episode 61 on this Tuesday, October 24th, 2023. And I'm your host today, of course, on this Tuesday, Jason DeCanio. How's everybody doing today? I hope you had a fantastic Monday, getting everything ready for Halloween. We are now officially 1 week, 7 days to the date. Yesterday, we talked about some of the things to keep you safe on Halloween. And tomorrow and Thursday and Friday on our 7 o'clock show, because we'll be here at 7 o'clock instead of 8, we will be talking all about Halloween up until the Tuesday of Halloween. So the next 3 days, we'll be looking at all things related to Halloween. Ghosts, goblins, what's really out there, what's real, what's fake. How can you kind of tell the difference between what is real and what is fake, and try to teach your children that not everything in life is scary, and that they should be very cautious of what to believe that is scary, and know that it's okay to ask questions about it. So those things and much more, all going to be covered in the next 5 days. We hope that you'll stay with us here to get some great helpful hints to continue to have a safe and happy Halloween. All right. Now, today on our program, though, we have some fantastic birthdays and anniversaries that we're going to look at today. And one of them is the 92nd birthday of the George Washington Bridge. Yes, folks, today is the date that the bridge officially opened to the public back in 1931. It was a fantastic day where everybody was happy to drive their cars across the bridge. And today, this bridge, 92 years later, is still doing its job, carrying cars over the Hudson River from New York to New Jersey and back and forth. And, well, this bridge has stood the test of time, folks. 8 more years and it will have 100 years on its own, just like the Brooklyn Bridge already has over 100 years. So why not, right? So we'll look at the George Washington Bridge first thing later on in the program. Then we'll look at the 83rd anniversary of the 40-hour work week. A lot of people don't realize it, but we do work 40 hours. And there was a time when only less than 40 hours was the actual work week. So there is a time frame that started this whole thing. We'll look at it, give you a commentary, and talk about an interesting thing that's going to happen now where everybody's trying to cut their hours by about a day and only work 32 hours and have 3 days off. So you have 4-day work weeks instead of 5-day work weeks, vice versa. Or if you're going to do 4 10-hour days, however you're going to do it, your choice. But whatever the cause and the case, there is an 83rd anniversary to this whole thing. There is a connection to it. We'll look at it a little bit later on the program. And then 10 polite restaurant habits you don't realize are actually rude. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. We'll look at 10 things that people do in restaurants that you would think are not rude, but they are. And we'll look at them and give you an idea of what to avoid on your next date, or maybe going out to eat with your family. So if you can avoid these 10 polite restaurant habits that are actually rude, you might actually have an actual dinner where you're not getting thrown out of the restaurant at the end of the night. Okay? Plus, we have what day is today and the headlines and sports and other important information, and wrap it up with the editorial, all coming up later on in the program. Should be good. So let's go ahead, and of course, it's time for headlines, sports, and other important information on this Tuesday, October 24th, 2023. We go to National Public Radio for all of our news. Let's go ahead and see what's going on here. Oh, well, we've got some interesting news breaking right now. So let's do that right now. News outlets backtrack on Gaza blast after relying on Hamas as key source. The BBC and the New York Times are among the news outlets revisiting their coverage of a deadly blast at a Gaza hospital. They relied on Hamas as an authoritative source of information, and we'll definitely give you in our editorial places where you can go to get your sources of information. The conflict between Israel and Palestine and other groups in the Middle East goes back decades. These stories provide context for current developments and the history that led up to them. At least 7 are dead in a massive vehicle that crashes in Louisiana caused by superfog. A superfog of smoke from South Louisiana, marsh fires, and dense fog caused multiple massive car crashes Monday morning involving a total of 158 vehicles, authorities said. Wow. Ooh. Palestinian Americans on the Israel-Hamas war were not even allowed to grieve. Some Palestinian Americans in the U.S. say they feel abandoned by the U.S. and fear rising anti-Palestinian sentiment and Islamophobia at home. An off-duty pilot attempted to shut off the engines in flight, Alaska Airlines says. An Alaskan Airlines flight was forced to make an unexpected landing after an off-duty pilot was riding in the cockpit, allegedly attempted to disable the aircraft's engines. And 2 more hostages held in Gaza are freed, while Gaza officials say death toll tops 5,000. Hamas freed 2 hostages on Monday, the Red Cross said. About 220 people remain still hostages in Gaza. Meanwhile, more than 5,000 Palestinians have died in Israeli airstrikes, Gaza officials have said. The UAW expands its auto strike once again, hitting a key plant for Ram pickup trucks. The United Auto Workers Union expanded its strike against the automaker Stellantis, calling on the 6,800 workers at its Sterling Heights assembly plant outside Detroit to walk out Monday morning. In I Must Be Dreaming, Roz Chast succeeds in engaging us with her dreams. Well, talk about a dream, kill a conversation. But not in the case of graphic novelist Roz Chast. Even her subconscious emanations present deliciously skewed takes on life's absurdities and fraught moments. Up the first briefing, aid trickles into Gaza, 9 GOP reps battle for the House Speaker job. Palestinian Christians mourn civilians killed in a Gaza church as aid begins to arrive in the enclave, and Representative Mike Flood advocates for a unity pledge to support any speaker nominee. And as the House COP struggles to pick a speaker, a lawmaker aims to simplify the process. Previous efforts to elect a House Speaker have failed at the floor vote. As the search stretches into a 3rd week, Representative Mike Flood wants Republicans to commit to voting for their party's nominee. And the court extends detention on Russian-American journalist, her employer says. Radio Free Europe Radio Liberty said a court-ordered Alsu Kermasheva to be held until December 5th, rejecting her lawyer's request for preventative measures other than incarceration. A new benefit at top companies, college admissions counseling. A growing number of companies say it's a way to keep workers. Critics call it another leg up for families that can already afford counseling. 9 words that helped this cancer patient. You look like you could use a mom hug. As Katie Ortman Doble struggled with a medical ordeal, a stranger offered exactly the comfort she needed. The hospital ran out of her child's cancer drug. Now she's fighting to end shortages. Laura Bray couldn't watch her 9-year-old's leukemia go untreated. She started campaigning to fix a broken system and get patients the treatments they need in the face of drug shortages. And for Palestinian Christians, a Sunday spent mourning civilians killed at a Gaza church. Services across the Holy Land memorialized the Palestinian civilians killed Thursday when an Israeli airstrike hit the church of St. Porphyrius in Gaza City, where some 400 people were sheltering. And finally, do you live with your parents? Well, here's how to create a harmonious household. 3 people who spend time living with their parents as adults share advice on how they have coped with their situation. So don't compare yourself to others, they say, and find ways to still live your life. That's right. I still live with my mom, and we do get along great. So what is the problem? We'll talk about that later on in the program in the editorial. That's all for today on the headlines. And now it's time for sports. And would you believe the playoffs for the good. Well, I must say that anything can happen in baseball, and it surely does. The Texas Rangers are officially the ALCS champions. They beat the Astros and knocked the Astros out of the World Series 11-4 yesterday by taking the series 4-3. And so the Astros' chances of winning the World Series are now slim to none. Game 7 tonight against the Diamondbacks and the Phillies is at 8:07. The series is tied at 3-3 as the Diamondbacks beat the Phillies yesterday 5-1 to take it to Game 7. The World Series starts on Friday, October 27th, again, and the Rangers will be at home against either the Diamondbacks or the Phillies. So this should be a very interesting World Series as the Astros are eliminated. Wow. Time now for NFL scores, and this is where it really gets interesting. We had Monday Night Football, and the Minnesota Vikings upset the San Francisco 49ers 22-17 to go to 3-4, sending the San Francisco 49ers to their second loss of the season at 5-2. The remaining games we're going to look at right now, and we'll go all the way back to Thursday night, where the Jaguars beat the Saints 31-24. Jaguars are on top of their division. They have a record now of 5-2. They're doing fantastic. And, I tell you, finally, they're coming out of their shell. I always said the Jaguars, give them time. They will finally find a way to, battle themselves and get where they're going here. Falcons upset the Buccaneers 16-13. The Bears clobbered the Raiders 30-12. It was the Browns coming back against the Colts. They were down a touchdown with less than 4 minutes left. They came back in the last 2 minutes to win it 39-38. The Giants upset the Commanders 14-7. It was the Ravens pounding the Lions 38-6. The Patriots upset the Bills 29-25. The Seahawks take care of the Cardinals 20-10. The Steelers take care of the Rams 24-17. It was the Chiefs over the Chargers 31-17. Broncos upset the Packers 19-17. The Eagles keep winning, beat the Dolphins 31-17. And as you know, the Vikings win on Monday Night Football against the 49ers 22-17. All right, now to NHL scores. And what's going on with the Boston Bruins? Well, they just keep winning. Man, oh man. What's going on with this team? There was only one game yesterday, and it was the Canadiens over the Sabres 3-1. Tonight's games matchups have the Maple Leafs at the Capitals at 6 o'clock, the Ducks and the Blue Jackets at 6:30, the Sabres at the Senators at 6:45, 7 o'clock, the Lightning will host the Hurricanes, the Canadiens will host the Devils tonight at 7:15, the Penguins are going to see if they can bounce all over the Stars at 7:30. The Panthers will host the Sharks in Florida at 7:45. The Avalanche will go to the Islanders at 8 o'clock. The Kraken will go to Detroit to play the Red Wings at 8:15. The Blackhawks host the Bruins tonight at 8:30. Let's see if the Bruins can still keep on their winning ways and go to 6-0-0. The Jets will host the Blues at 8:45. That's the Winnipeg Jets. Okay, not to be confused. The Minnesota Wild will host the Edmonton Oilers at 9 o'clock. It's the Canucks and Predators at 9:15. Rangers at Calgary, 9:45. Coyotes at the LA Kings at 10:30. And the Philly Flyers will face the Vegas Golden Knights tonight at 11 o'clock. And, of course, basketball starts tonight, the regular season. Whoops. The regular season starts tonight, so we've got the two games in. So we won't get the official scores until tomorrow, but the Lakers will face the defending champion Nuggets in Denver at 7:30 tonight, and the Suns will go to Golden State to face the Warriors at 10 o'clock. Those are the two games to start off the NBA season. You know, I've already got my Nets shirt on, so I'm doing fantastic, and I'm in basketball mode, ready to go. When we come back, we will look at what day is today and give you all of that great stuff. And then we'll start our look at the 92nd anniversary of the George Washington Bridge. All of this and more coming up on DMS 3000 News Live when we come back right after this.
Cujo?
From the novel by Stephen King, creator of Carrie and The Shining, comes a chilling new tale.
Cujo.
Now, there's a new name for terror. Cujo, directed by Louis Teague. Rated R. Now playing. Check newspapers for a theater near you.
Oh, I do enjoy an evening with a little light entertainment. But when your video heads get dirty, you lose your picture. Not a pretty sight. Happily, this new Polaroid video cassette will help you. It actually cleans your heads as it plays, so dirty heads needn't haunt you. New Polaroid video cassettes. Get the picture?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Friday the 13th. You may only see it once, but that will be enough. Friday the 13th. Rated R.
There's a vacancy at the Bates Motel.
Norman, is that you?
No, it's Buzz McKenzie, and it could be you. Look for this display and enter Bud Light Psycho Sweepstakes to win a Bud Light party with Buzz McKenzie at the Psycho Mansion. You could even get a mug like Spud's at participating retailers. Wow!
That Spud is so cool, it's scary.
And now we present Scary Tales.
I've rolled off the north side. A good move, my lord. Soon the city will be mine. Excellent, my lord. The wench has blocked me. We've lost. We, my lord?
Cathedral, the medieval strategy game. When the city is finished, you could be too.
Hi there, guys and ghouls. It's me, Elvira, the Queen of Halloween, and tonight I'm having my Halloween party right here at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific.
After Elvira shows you the weirdest, scariest videos ever made, the terror continues with Alice Cooper live in Detroit at midnight Eastern. Elvira at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific time, followed by Alice Cooper in concert at midnight Eastern, 11 Central, 9 Pacific. A Halloween you'll remember, a Halloween you won't be able to forget on MTV.
Last one there's a Halloweenie.
Konami's Castlevania The Adventure for Nintendo's Game Boy. With a maze of vampire crypts and unearthly evils, it is about to sink its fangs into you.
Genesis brings you the 16-bit arcade challenge with Ghostbusters. 16-bit thrills in Ghouls and Ghosts. And 16-bit arcade action with Forgotten Worlds. Gruesome ghosts, ferocious foes, battles of power, of magic and might. Ghouls and Ghosts, Ghostbusters, and Forgotten Worlds are for the Genesis system. Sega Genesis brings the arcade experience home. Game sold.
All right, well, call me the scratching your head there. Welcome back to the DMS 3000 News Live. It's episode 61 here on this October 24, 2023. Well, we've got some interesting national holidays to celebrate today on What Day Is Today. And the first one up is National Bologna Day. Yes. Oh boy. Yes. Make sure to bring on this October 24th your brown bag lunches to work because it's National Bologna Day. Everyone's favorite processed luncheon meat has its own day. Bologna is named after the Italian city of the same name, or Bologna, but down there they call it mortadella, which is a sausage with bits of lard and peppercorns in it. American bologna, as you may have noticed, is distinctly different, but no less loved the world over. While the history of National Bologna Day may be short, the history is long and lasting. For example, in 1661, mortadella, Bologna's European cousin, was so protected, the papacy decided to create a clear definition to distinguish it from other lesser versions of finely ground pork with chunks of fat. Bologna, known in America, is mortadella without the fat chunks. It's sold at baseball stadiums, lunch counters, delis, inside tin cans, and in the glass cases of butchers. It can be fried and thrown on toasted bread with pickles, onions, tomatoes, and lettuce. It can be served cold with thick slices of cheddar and white bread. It can be chopped up and mixed with crumbled hard-boiled eggs, mayo, and veggies for a bologna salad. Regardless of how you enjoy it, bologna came to America most likely with the large German immigration at the turn of the 20th century, establishing it as a de facto cuisine in the areas they settled in: Midwest, Appalachia, Pennsylvania, and parts of the South. From there, it quickly took firm footing as one of the most popular American foods. So go back to 1928. The coolest thing about sliced bread, yes, bread slicers were commercialized, forever changing the way Americans eat, going from something available almost exclusively at deli counters to a homemade bagged lunch, pushed bologna sandwiches into ubiquity in the pre-Depression era. Yes. And from 1929 to 1939, nothing depressing about bologna. You know, during the Great Depression, bologna was one of the most accessible foods to Americans. It was affordable, and it kept well for long periods of time. This made the bologna sandwich a mainstay for many Americans, and also how it garnered the reputation as something consumed during hard times. In 1963, the New York Board of Education included bologna as an official lunch item, helping to feed the children in the country's largest public school system. And then, 1974, My Bologna Has a Name. Yes, one of the most successful and longest-running commercials ever made came from Oscar Mayer, featuring a child fishing and singing a jingle about how his bologna is named Oscar Mayer. Yep, we still have that in our brains. Some of our parents do, and we wish we would just be like, really? Okay. So today, what are you going to do on National Bologna Day? You're going to make a sandwich. How else should you celebrate National Bologna Day than by enjoying it the way it was meant to be savored, between two slices of bread? But on this day, why not try something new? Why not fry it up and top it with an egg? Or how about you pull out that panini press you never use and cook it up topped with a slice of cheddar? And make your own. That's right. You don't need a giant assembly line to make your own bologna. In fact, bologna doesn't even require that many ingredients. All you need is ground beef, a sugar-based curing mixture, garlic and onion powder, and finally, liquid smoke for that distinct taste. Mix it all up, mold it, and throw it in the oven. In an hour, you'll have your very own bologna to celebrate with. And make a bologna cake. Yeah, this is actually not a joke. It's a real thing. Bologna cake is actually what it sounds like. You take slices of bologna, layer them, and use cream cheese for frosting. Spray some canned cheese for decoration and serve with crackers. It may seem crazy, but you're sure to have the most impressive party platter. That is until someone brings the hot dog sculpture. Yep. And why we love National Bologna Day. Well, kids love it more. Bologna, mustard, white bread. Those three ingredients make for the cornerstone of a classic school-time lunch. There's just something about bologna that kids love. Pair it up with a string cheese and some fruit snacks, and you can guarantee your kids will have plenty of energy to get through the day. And because it comes in many styles, bologna is more than just Oscar Mayer. Bologna actually comes in all kinds of styles and flavors. We've already talked about mortadella, but there's also German bologna and Lebanon bologna, which are distinctively different. There's even something called polony, which is popular in South Africa. And because it doesn't pretend to be healthy, of course it's important to eat healthily, but sometimes you just have to indulge in a guilty pleasure. And that's where bologna unapologetically comes to the rescue. In a world where everything is either cholesterol-free or fat-free, bologna isn't afraid to be itself. That being said, it is gluten-free if that's your thing. And so, that ends that on National Bologna Day. And now, for the next one. Well, here's a good one to go for. National Food Day, right? It falls on October 24th, which is today. It's celebrated for the first time in 1975, was created by the Center for Science and Public Interest and was supposed to be similar to Earth Day. The day toasts nutritious and healthy food and focuses on educating people on healthy eating, good farming methods, and safe food production. It also reminds us of the strides we've made in living more healthy lives and growing food in viable, responsible ways. So in 1971, a microbiologist, a meteorologist, a chemist, and two scientists from Ralph Nader's Center for the Study of Responsive Law founded the Center for Science in the Public Interest. That's the CSPI. So the CSPI was formed as a nonprofit organization that monitored food safety standards and advocated for safer foods. In the early days, CSPI focused on environmental protection and renewable sources of energy. Later on, when two of the founders left the organization, it turned its focus to food and alcohol safety. Over the years, CSPI changed the dynamics of nutrition and food safety worldwide. It encouraged healthy foods in restaurants and made sure that the restaurants followed guidelines issued by the Food and Drug Administration. The CSPI played a major role in bringing up the matter of high amounts of saturated fats found in popcorn in cinemas. It was also the organization that led the campaigns against trans fats found in fast foods. One of the most well-known campaigns led by the CSPI was National Food Day. Now, this day was created to raise awareness about nutrition and food safety, and also as a step towards eradicating hunger. Ensuring that antibiotics used on farm animals are regulated was also one of the goals of creating this day. Clearer food labeling was also an emphasis. In Canada, Food Day is more of a culinary celebration that originated from the celebration of the world's longest barbecue. The main intention of creating a National Food Day was, however, to encourage people to eat healthier. Whole foods like vegetables, whole grain, and protein-rich food instead of processed food and drinks. Campaigns and events are organized mostly in New York, Washington, D.C., and also in thousands of schools in the nation. So the timeline started in 1971, where the Center for the Science in the Public Interest is formed by Michael F. Jacobson and a few chemists and scientists. Go to 1975, they regulate infant food. The CSPI publishes a white paper on infant feeding practices, criticizing the commercialization of the infant food industry's products. And again, in 1975, National Food Day is created by the CSPI to raise awareness about nutrition and food safety. And then in 1989, the CSPI fights against trans fats usage. The CSPI convinces restaurants to stop using animal fat for frying and leads a campaign against trans fats in fast foods. So how to celebrate today? Well, eat the healthy foods. What better way to celebrate National Food Day than eating healthy food? Cut out the sugar and processed fast food and eat whole vegetables, fruits, and meat. You can also encourage your family members to do the same. Don't forget to raise awareness. There are many who don't know the importance of National Food Day. Write a social media post describing the importance of eating healthy and also the significance of this day. You could use the hashtag National Food Day and learn more. So don't forget to expand your knowledge on food safety, nutrition, and healthy farming practices. You could attend events, workshops, and discussions in your community center or do your research online. And here are 5 facts about healthy organic foods that will blow your mind. They have low nitrate levels. Crops that are grown organically are shown to contain 30% fewer nitrates, which causes nitrate leaching into the water table to be 40% less. They have more nutrients. Organic foods are said to have significantly greater nutrient content compared to non-organic foods. Organic farming is good for the environment, less pollution, less water consumption, and reduced soil erosion are some benefits of organic farming practices. And genetically modified organisms, the GMOs, are prohibited in organic farms. They're prohibited in organic foods and farms. And organic milk is immensely popular. Organic milk is said to be one of the fastest growing industries in the world market. And we'll talk about that a little bit in the editorial as well. So here are why we love today. It reminds us of the importance of eating healthy. We often ignore the importance of eating healthy. Fast foods are replacing traditional home-cooked foods because fast food is easy to buy. Due to convenience, we forget the long-term effects eating fast food has on our bodies. This day is a reminder to eat healthy, whole foods. There are millions around the world who are starving, so this day reminds us of the importance of food and to be grateful for the food we have on the table. This day also reminds us to donate to charity organizations that provide food to the underprivileged if we are able. And this day can be used to make people realize the importance of healthy foods. So it can be used to further raise awareness among people to switch to healthier food choices. Many events and workshops are organized that teach the public about sustainable farming practices and the importance of food safety. There you have it, friends. National Food Day in all of its glory. All right, one more. Yeah, I know. One more. Normally, we don't have many more than like 1 or 2. Today, we have 3. For all you Jamaicans out there, from Jamaica and from the United States, it's National Jamaican Jerk Day. Yay, man. Yay, man. That's right. This day is set aside to celebrate jerk cooking, the unique Jamaican way of seasoning and grilling food. Celebrated across the country, this day is not about the food and the delicious seasoning alone. National Jamaican Jerk Day is as much about Jamaican culture, music, dancing, and community as it is about the food. Jamaican jerk is the food that brings people together so they can celebrate their history, culture, and identity. Jerk is an important symbol of the Jamaican identity, and the people love to celebrate this iconic seasoning. So, National Jamaican Jerk Day is an annual celebration of Jamaican jerk seasoning, food, and culture that's celebrated on today, the 24th. And the celebration of jerk across the country is more than a celebration of the food. Jerk is an important cultural symbol for most Jamaicans. A legacy of culinary fusion, jerk brings together the food of the indigenous Taino and African people living in Jamaica. The Taino were indigenous people who lived on the Caribbean island of Jamaica and were the first to cook jerked meat. When the Spanish colonized Jamaica, they brought enslaved people from Africa along with them onto the island. Enslaved African people were freed from the colonists during the invasion of Jamaica, which was part of the Anglo-Spanish War. The newly freed African people escaped, mingled with the Taino people, and established their independent communities. They came to be known as the Jamaican Maroons. The Maroons learned the technique of jerk from the Taino. The word itself is derived from charqui, a Spanish word originally derived from the Quichua people of the Andes Mountains in South America. Charqui means jerked or dried meat, so the Maroons began to refer to the Taino method of cooking meat as jerk. Jerk seasoning, also known as jerk spice or Jamaican spice, is a spice rub. Common ingredients include allspice, Scotch bonnet peppers, that's why it's so freaking hot, sugar, salt, ginger, clove, cinnamon, thyme, and garlic. These seasonings vary across the Jamaica diaspora, and Jamaican jerk refers to the spice rub, the marinade, the sauce, and the cooking techniques all together. So, in the 1500s, Spanish colonists arrived in Jamaica, bringing enslaved people from Africa with them. 1655, the enslaved people are freed from the Spanish and mingle with the Taino people, adopting their cooking techniques. The Maroons established in the 1800s their own culture, with jerk cooking as an important cultural identifier. And the cooking techniques in the 1960s, they evolve even more. Jerking evolves with time, with Caribbean entrepreneurs identifying easier and more portable ways of jerking. Yeah. So today, visit the Jamaican Jerk Festival. Yeah, it's an amazing celebration of jerk and culture around the world, or around it, and head over to eat some great food, listen to some Jamaica reggae music, and dance away. And if you're bold enough, host a jerk party. Fire up your grill and get your friends together for a delicious party. You can make your jerk sauce or buy it ready-made from the grocery store. And support the local Jamaican restaurants. They will be joining in the festivities with specials. Order in and visit these restaurants so you can support them and eat some authentic jerk. And here's 5 facts about Jamaican jerk that will blow your mind. We all think about jerk chicken and jerk beef and all that other, but the main meats that are cooked are chicken and pork, but today even fish is cooked in this way. So try some jerk fish, jerk cod, halibut. Pimento wood was an important component. Jerk cooking involved with the Maroons roasting wild hogs over pimento wood. And Scotch bonnet was used because of availability. The previously enslaved people had to make do with what they had, so they used Scotch bonnet peppers, which are now an important characteristic of jerk. The French Caribbean has something similar. A smoked chicken dish called poulet, bouquin, is a version of jerk chicken. And no one cooks over fire pits anymore. Most jerk in Jamaica is cooked in jerk pans over hardwood charcoal. And why we love it? We love the history. We think that Jamaican jerk has an important history behind it, and we want to honor the story behind the food. And we think the culture is amazing. We love that Jamaican jerk is a symbol of such a rich and resilient culture. We want to celebrate it with our Jamaican friends. And we think the festival is lots of fun. We love the Jamaican Jerk Festival and all the activities around it. We think it's a great way to bring the community together. And there you have it, friends. National Jerk Day with all the other great stuff on the food. Yum, yum, yum. Get ready for it. We'll find out what's going on with what day is tomorrow to see of all the great foods. Maybe there's a lot more we didn't even cover. We'll see what happens. We'll be right back, because next up, the 92nd anniversary or the 92nd birthday of the George Washington Bridge comes to you right after this.
So, you want to know the story of Splatterhouse, the new horror video game for TurboGrafx 16? They say he stalks the old haunted mansion. They say he's looking for his girlfriend. They say his only weapon against the maggot-eating ghouls who took her is a 2x4. And you say you want to play this game? Splatterhouse. Only for the TurboGrafx 16 system from NEC.
I'm Count Scary, and I bought 3D glasses for 39 cents from a participating Wendy's old-fashioned hamburgers restaurant. Hand me my glasses. Not these glasses, Igor. Hand me the scary ones. And oh, they go so good with my tan.
Count Scary's 3D Party, Tuesday, July 6th at 8 p.m. only on Channel 4.
No one believed Charlie's neighbor was a vampire.
Stop me, Charlie! He bit me!
Until it was too late. Now, Charlie has to find a way to stop him.
Peter Vincent, ready to do battle with the undead.
Beware of the evil that awaits you on Fright Night. Friday night at 8 on Q13.
Hi there, I'm Dumpy the Pumpkin. Carvel's Halloween ice cream cake. I weigh 44 ounces and serve 10 to 12 people.
Having a Halloween party? I'm Wiki the Witch, and I weigh 45 ounces. We're both made fresh daily at your participating Carvel ice cream store.
You want to send one to a friend? Please phone 800-327-GIFT and call the Cake Honors most major credit cards. Thank you.
Welcome to the world of terror. When I'm not busy embalming bodies, which isn't often, I like to relax with some good family reading. Let me introduce you to my personal library of Fangoria, the leader in horror entertainment. What a fascinatingly hideous cover of Freddy Krueger. And devilishly candid reviews of the latest horror videos, and gloriously bloody color photos from the newest Friday the 13th. They're all here in Fangoria. Can I persuade you to subscribe?
This is Fango editor Tony Tampone asking you to enter the world of Fangoria. Only $12.49 for a special 6-month video subscription. Send check or money order to Fangoria Magazine, 475 Park Avenue South, New York, 10016.
Customers! Ah, let the dead bodies wait.
Nobody expected it. Nobody believed it. And nothing could stop it. The one hope. The only hope. The Exorcist. Rated R.
The movie you've been waiting for. Without the wait.
The Haunted Mansion at Long Branch is a living, breathing nightmare of more than 30 incredible rooms, each with its own very special surprise. Wander through its myriad of secret passageways and winding labyrinths. Discover the graveyard of the living dead and its unimagined terror. There's Renfield and his spiders, the Prince of Darkness, Count Dracula, and many more. At the Haunted Mansion at Long Branch, it's waiting for you.
Sometimes coming home can be unsettling.
Mom!
But not with a new Stanley Lightmaker garage door opener. One button opens your garage, but the other button turns these back into these, because it turns on lights from the safety of your car with a Stanley Lightmaker.
It's nice to be home.
Get a transmitter free with purchase, plus a chance to win an Oldsmobile in Stanley Sweepstakes.
Welcome back to DMS 3000 News Live, and hope you're enjoying this Tuesday morning. We are here on this October 24th, 2023. We're ready to start our first look at one of the articles that we're looking at today. We're giving a birthday to the 92nd birthday of the George Washington Bridge. For all you New Yorkers out there, and I, of course, you know, I host the Queens New Yorker regularly on Spotify. And, of course, we have the Legacy of Queens and Legacy of New York on YouTube as well. One of the things we've covered over the course of 9 years is the George Washington Bridge. And today, happy birthday, George. You are officially 92 years old. So the George Washington Bridge, we're going to look at the history of it right now from the Wikipedia. The bridge sits near the sites of Fort Washington in New York and Fort Lee in New Jersey, which were fortified positions used by General George Washington and his American forces as they attempted to deter the occupation of New York City in 1776 during the American Revolutionary War. Unsuccessful, Washington evacuated Manhattan by ferrying his army between the two forts. Well, by the end of the 19th century, there were more than 200 separate municipalities along the lower Hudson River and the New York Bay, with no unified agency to control commerce or transport in the area and no fixed crossing. The first was proposed in 1888 by civil engineer Gustav Lindenthal, who later became New York City's bridge commissioner. The Hudson and Manhattan Railroad and the Pennsylvania Railroad opened 3 pairs of tubes under the lower Hudson in the 1900s, and the first vehicle crossing Across the lower Hudson, the Holland Tunnel was opened in 1927, connecting lower Manhattan with Jersey City. A vehicular bridge across the Hudson River was being considered as early as 1906 during the planning for the Holland Tunnel. 3 possible locations for a suspension bridge were considered in the vicinity of 57th, 110th, and 179th Streets of Manhattan, with others rejected on the grounds of aesthetics, geography, or traffic flows. And then in 1920, English architect Alfred C. Boussoum proposed a double-decker bridge with room for vehicular and railroad traffic near 57th Street in Midtown Manhattan. The same year, Othmar Ammann and Gustav Lindenthal proposed a vehicular and railroad bridge to 57th Street in Manhattan, topped by an office building on the Manhattan end that would have been the world's tallest. Lindenthal's plan failed because it did not receive permits from the United States Army Corps of Engineers or approval from the city, and because Midtown Manhattan real estate developers and planners opposed the plan. Well, Ammann unsuccessfully attempted to convince Lindenthal to build his bridge elsewhere without a tower atop the bridge's terminus. In January of 1924, the New York State Chamber of Commerce voted against the 57th Street location in favor of another upstream. And despite this, Lindenthal proposed that a bridge be built there and carry 16 railroad tracks and 12 lanes of automotive traffic. Meanwhile, Ammann became chief engineer of the Port of New York Authority, now the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, which was created in 1921 to oversee commerce and transport along the lower Hudson River and New York Bay. He had disassociated himself from Lindenthal's proposal by 1923, conducting his own studies on the feasibility of a bridge from 178th Street in Fort Washington, Manhattan, to Fort Lee in New Jersey. Amann's advocacy for the Fort Washington-Fort Lee Bridge gained support from both New Jersey Governor George Silzer and New York Governor Alfred E. Smith by mid-1923. May of 1924, Colonel Frederick Stewart Green, the New York Superintendent of Public Works, announced a plan to construct a suspension bridge between Fort Lee and Fort Washington. Well, at that location, both sides were surrounded by steep cliffs, the Palisades on the New Jersey side and Washington Heights on the New York side. Thus, it was possible to build the bridge without either impeding maritime traffic or requiring lengthy approach ramps from ground level. A New Jersey State Assemblyman introduced a bill for the Hudson River Bridge that December. Now, this bill was passed in the New Jersey Assembly in February of 1925. After an initial rejection by Silzer, the Assembly made modifications before passing the bill again in March, after which Silzer signed the bill. Around the same time, the New York State Legislature was also considering a similar bill, and a dispute between New York civic groups developed, who supported the construction of the Hudson River Bridge, and the Parks Conservation Association, who believed that the bridge towers would degrade the quality of Fort Washington Park directly underneath the proposed bridge's deck. Late March of 1925, the chairman of the Parks Conservation Association noted that the proposed New York State legislation would provide for the actual construction of the bridge rather than just the planning. Ultimately, the Hudson River Bridge Bill was passed in the New York State Legislature, and Smith approved the bill that April. March of 1925, Silzer asked Ammann to devise preliminary plans for the Hudson River Bridge. Ammann found that the width of the Hudson River decreased by more than 1,000 feet when it passed between Fort Lee and Fort Washington. The ledges of Fort Lee and Fort Washington were respectively 300 and 200 feet above mean water level at this point, which was not only ideal geography for a suspension bridge, but also allowed the bridge to be high enough to give sufficient clearance for maritime traffic. However, the differing heights meant that a large cut had to be made through the Fort Lee ledge so that the bridge approach could be built there. The same month, New Jersey legislature asked for funds for test bores to determine if the geological strata would support the bridge. In response to continuing concerns from park preservationists, Amon stated that placing the New York Suspension Tower anywhere else would make the bridge look asymmetrical, which he believed was a worse outcome than placing the tower within the park. The states conducted a study in mid-1925 which found that the Hudson River Bridge would be able to pay for itself in 25 years if a 50-cent toll were to be placed on every vehicle. Well, after funding was secured, surveyors began examining feasible sites for the future bridge's approaches in August of 1925. Well, by law, the New York end of the Hudson River Bridge could only be constructed between 178th and 185th Streets, and the New Jersey end had to be built directly across the river. Geologists made 300-foot test bores of the New Jersey side to determine if the site was feasible for laying foundations for the bridge. Othmar Amon was hired as the bridge's chief engineer. In Amon's original plans for the bridge, which had been published in March of 1925, he had envisioned that the bridge would contain two sidewalks, a roadway that could carry up to 8,000 vehicles per hour, and space for 4 railroad tracks in case the 2 North River Railroad tunnels downstream exceeded their train capacity. Well, Cass Gilbert was hired in January of 1926 to design architectural elements for the Hudson River Bridge, including the suspension towers. The bridge design had yet to be finalized, and its costs could not even be estimated at that point due to the complexity of factors. Gilbert released preliminary sketches of the Hudson River Bridge that March. By then, the architect had decided that the span would be a suspension bridge. The sketch accompanied a feasibility report that Amon and other engineers presented to the Port of New York Authority, which was to operate the bridge. The central span was to be 3,500 feet long, longer than any other suspension bridge in existence at the time, and 200 feet above mean high water. Now, the bridge would initially carry 4 lanes of vehicle traffic and sidewalk lanes. The plans called for 3 additional phases of expansion, culminating in an 8-lane bridge deck with 4 rapid transit tracks underneath. The span would be supported by 2 towers, each 650 feet tall, and there would also be space to build a second deck in the future below the main deck. Amon's team also found that the most feasible location for the bridge was at 179th Street in Manhattan as opposed to 181st or 175th Streets. This was both because the 179th Street location was more aesthetically appealing than the other 2 locations, and because a 179th Street bridge would be cheaper and shorter in length than a bridge at either of the other streets. At this point in the planning process, the Hudson River Bridge's estimated cost was $40 million or $50 million. Because of the proposed bridge's length, engineers also had to test the strength of materials, including suspension cables that were to be used in the span. Amon's research department constructed scale models of various designs for the bridge and tested them in wind tunnels. By late 1926, one engineer predicted that construction on the Hudson River Bridge would start the following summer. In December of 1926, the final plans for the bridge were approved by the public and by the War Department. The Port Authority planned to sell off $50 million worth of bonds to pay for the bridge, and the initial $20 million bond issue was sold that December. Further issues across and arose when the New Jersey Assembly passed a bill in March of 1927, which increased the New Jersey governor's power to veto Port Authority contracts. Smith, the New York governor, and Silzer, the now former New Jersey governor who had been appointed Port Authority chairman, both objected to the bill since the Port Authority had been intended as a bi-state venture. Now, afterward, the then current New Jersey governor, A. Harry Moore, worked with legislatures to revise the legislation. The revised law was ultimately not a significant deviation from the Port Authority's practice at the time, wherein the Port Authority was already submitting its contracts to New Jersey government for review. Wow. We're going to take a break and be right back with more look and more history of the George Washington Bridge right after this.
The nightmare continues. Halloween 2.
Help me!
Halloween 2, starring Jamie Lee Curtis, part of The Last Screams of Shocktober, will begin in just a moment.
Look what's rising out of the pumpkin patch this Halloween. The Pumpkin Cutter, a great way to let your kids carve their own pumpkins without sharp edges that cut little hands. It even makes toothy grins easy to do. The Pumpkin Scoop removes seeds and pulp better than any spoon. And the Pumpkin Light replaces dangerous candles with glowing results. Have a great pumpkin this Halloween with the Pumpkin Cutter, Pumpkin Scoop, and Pumpkin Light.
Pumpkin Cutter products available at Long's Drugs and Safeway.
Kids of Elm Street don't know it yet, but something is coming to get them. Nightmare on Elm Street.
No! No!
She's the only one who can stop it. If she fails, no one will survive.
Help me, please!
Wes Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street, rated R.
Now playing at a flagship theater near you.
For great Halloween fun, pick up some spooky decorations at Walgreens. Just $7.99 each. Scary sound-activated Halloween figures, battery-operated pirate skull, witches, skeletons, and more. Stock up on Halloween candy, too. Walgreens has a wide selection of treats and goodies of all kinds. And it's time to order your holiday photo greeting cards. Put your favorite photo on any of 6 beautiful designs. All orders include a free marker pen. Treat yourself to savings this week at Walgreens.
On Halloween, reach for the less filling beer that tastes great, Miller Lite.
This place was once a funeral parlor, wasn't it? What was that?
We're gonna get out of here. Get up, Judy. That's so cat.
Night of the Demons.
Where you going? The party's just begun.
Rated R.
Starts Friday.
Rayovac, Burger King, and Channel 47 want kids to have a bright and safe Halloween. Once again this year, Rayovac is providing free personal kid-sized flashlights for use when trick-or-treating Halloween night. These flashlights will light the way to safer rounds of the neighborhoods. To get your flashlight, just come to any Madison Burger King on October 30th and ask for one. No purchase is necessary, and Burger King will give you a special treat bag and a coupon good for the soft drink of your choice. But the supply is limited, so get to Burger King early. And remember, be safe this Halloween. Wear light-colored costumes, be extra careful crossing streets, and ask your parents to check your treats and throw out any unwrapped ones just to be safe. We'll help with free flashlights from Rayovac and a special treat from Burger King just for the asking. It all happens Thursday, October 30th only at the Madison Burger King near you. And happy Halloween from Rayovac, Burger King, and Channel 47.
Well, the continuation of the birthday of the George Washington Bridge goes like this. The bridge was dedicated on October 24th, 1931, and the bridge opened to traffic on October 25th, the next day, 8 months ahead of schedule. The opening ceremony, attended by 30,000 guests, was accompanied by a show from military airplanes as well as speeches from politicians including Morgan Foster Larson, the governor of New Jersey, and Franklin D. Roosevelt, the governor of New York. The first people to cross the George Washington Bridge were reportedly 2 elementary school students who roller skated across the bridge from the New York side. Pedestrians were allowed to walk the length of the George Washington Bridge between 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. The bridge was formally opened to traffic the next day. The Port Authority collected tolls for drivers who used the bridge in either direction. As with the Holland Tunnel, the toll was set at 50 cents for passenger cars with different toll rates for other vehicle types. Pedestrians paid a toll of 10 cents, which was lowered to 5 cents in 1934. Within the first 24 hours of the George Washington Bridge's official opening, 56,312 cars used the span, as well as 100,000 pedestrians, including those who had walked across after the ceremony. The Port Authority reported that 33,540 pedestrians crossed the bridge on the first day, of which 20,000 paid a toll to cross. During the bridge's construction, the cost of the bridge was estimated at $75 million, and the bridge was expected to carry 8 million vehicles and 1.5 million pedestrians in its first year of operation. When the George Washington Bridge opened, it was estimated that 8 million vehicles would use the bridge in its first year, and that the bridge could ultimately carry 60 million vehicles annually after a second deck was added. The bridge's final cost was estimated at $60 million. Real estate speculators believed that the bridge's construction would raise real estate values in Fort Lee, since the borough's residents would be able to more easily access New York City. During the construction of the bridge, speculators spent millions of dollars to buy land around the bridge's New Jersey approach. The bridge was later credited with helping raise land prices and encouraging residential development in formerly agricultural parts of Bergen County. It also spurred the rise of the trucking industry along the United States East Coast, supplanting much of the freight railroads that used to carry cargo. In the George Washington Bridge's first week of operation, the bridge carried 116,265 vehicles compared to the Holland Tunnel's 173,010 vehicles, despite the fact that the tunnel had fewer lanes than the bridge did. And during that time span, 56,000 pedestrians used the bridge. A week after the bridge opened, the 10-lane toll booth was expanded to 14 lanes because of heavy weekend traffic volumes. In its first year of operation, the George Washington Bridge saw 5.5 million vehicle crossings and nearly 500,000 pedestrian crossings. Traffic counts on the George Washington Bridge grew year after year, and by the time of the bridge's 10th anniversary in 1941, the span had been used by 72 million vehicles total, including a record 9.1 million in 1940. Wow. And of course, you know, there is a lower deck that was added in starting the construction in 1958, was completed in 1961. They opened up the bus station, and also, what else did they add to? The George Washington Bridge had the expressway, the right-of-ways on them. all kinds of good stuff that added more to help the ease of traffic. Well, even back then, the traffic was bad, and today's traffic is even worse. So they tried and tried and tried, and well, it just goes to show you that it's just one of those things where it ain't New York without traffic. That's a look at the 92nd birthday of the George Washington Bridge. Happy birthday, George. Thank you for all you are doing and continue to do up to your 100th birthday and beyond the 100 years of the bridge being built. So what do you think of when you think of a work week? It's interesting. Well, we have it down to where the first 40-hour work week was done, and we're going to look at that right now. So, this one is put out by cultureamp.com. It's the history and evolution of the 40-hour work week, and it was written by Sophia Lee. She's a writer and cultural amp. So, a 40-hour work week or work week is the accepted standard in today's workplace. But where did this concept originate? And is it the most effective model for productivity and employee engagement? Fortunately, a growing amount of information is being made available on this topic. And in this article, we map out the evolution of the 40-hour work week and share key research findings regarding the efficiency of this approach. Believe it or not, the makings of the 40-hour work week started in the 19th century. Below is a timeline of the key dates that led to the work standards we're familiar with today. In 1817, after the Industrial Revolution, activists and labor union groups advocated for better working conditions. People were working 80 to 100-hour weeks during this time. In 1866, the National Labor Union, comprised of skilled and unskilled workers, farmers and reformers, asked Congress to pass a law mandating the 8-hour workday. And while the law wasn't passed, it increased public support for the change. President Ulysses S. Grant issued a proclamation to guarantee 8-hour workdays for government employees. Grant's decision encouraged private sector workers to push for the same rights. Then in 1886, the Illinois legislature passed a law mandating 8-hour workdays. Many employers refused to cooperate, which led to a massive workers' strike in Chicago, where there was a bomb that killed at least 12 people. The aftermath is known as the Haymarket Riot and is now commemorated on May 1st as a public holiday in many countries. In 1926, Henry Ford popularized the 40-hour work week after he discovered through his research that working more yielded only a small increase in productivity that lasted a short period of time. Ford announced he would pay each worker $5 per 8-hour day, which was nearly double what the average auto worker was making that time. And manufacturers and companies soon followed Henry Ford's lead after seeing how this new policy boosted productivity and fostered loyalty and pride among Ford's employers and the employees. In 1938, Congress passed the Fair Labor Standards Act, which required employers to pay overtime to all employees who worked more than 44 hours a week. They amended the act 2 years later to reduce the work week to 40 hours. In 1940, the 40-hour work week became U.S. law. So, are 40-hour work weeks effective? Well, now that we know the origin of the 40-hour work weeks, the natural follow-up question is, are they effective? To answer this, it's important to understand how people use those 8-hour work days. According to a past survey from @Task, this is a general breakdown of how employees spend their time at work. 45% is primary job duties, 40% are meetings, administrative tasks, and interruptions, and 14% is all email. These numbers show that the general employee population is far from achieving 100% productivity, which isn't necessarily bad. Research shows that brief diversions can be good for creativity and focus, let's look at additional evidence around the pros and the cons of the 40-hour work week. Well, the case for 40-hour work weeks. One thing we can say with certainty is that working more than 8 hours a day is actively detrimental for both employees and employers alike. Many studies have been conducted on the negative implications of overwork. All show that people who work regularly work overtime that are less healthy and more likely to make mistakes and less productive than those who work 40 hours per week. So we can say that an 8-hour day is better than working a more than 8-hour day. But however, there are certain downsides when it comes to 40-hour work weeks. The biggest is that many employees work more than 40 hours a week, despite the fact their companies or the law specify a 40-hour week. For instance, Americans work an average of 7 extra hours a week, and since modern technology has enabled employees to access their work anywhere, whether via their cell phones or laptops, employees can easily stay plugged in even after they leave the office. This struggle to disconnect is precisely why the French government recently passed a law requiring companies with more than 50 employees to establish off-limits email hours. However, in some companies, this behavior is encouraged or expected. And on the flip side, we should also consider that 40 hours may be too many hours to begin with. Data from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development found that countries with the highest average number of working hours were some of the least productive. Luxembourg, the most productive country, had an average work week of 29 hours. And while it's up in the air whether or not the 40-hour work week is the optimal structure for employees, it's clear that the companies are becoming increasingly open to experimenting with other options. Below are 3 alternatives to the 40-hour work week to consider and the benefits and drawbacks of each one. Well, flex time is all about allowing employees to design their own work schedules. This includes everything from letting people determine the start and end time for their work days to offering remote work or telecommuting options. A study from SHRM found that 57% of employers currently allow for flex time and 62% allow for some telecommunicating. So it's a popular option among companies. Here are the pros. They're truly customized. Having a one-size-fits-all schedule is very challenging, given that every employee has different priorities, interests, and time commitments. Flex time is great because it can be customized to the needs of the individual, and whether that's allowing early risers to start their day at 7 a.m. or giving parents the peace of mind to head out early to pick up their children from school. It also makes a great work-life balance. Flex time encourages work-life balance by allowing employees to carve out time to care for themselves outside the office, such as attending doctor's appointments or fitness classes. The most significant benefit is they can do this without worrying about being away from their desks for too long. But here are the downsides, unfortunately. Scheduling conflicts. There's the potential that your team will have difficulty booking meetings with one another if everyone's schedules are too diverse. However, you can manage this challenge by setting soft boundaries to ensure your employees are in the office simultaneously for at least a few hours daily. Excuse me. I had a sneeze there. And another factor is to consider is that it may be more challenging to understand what your employees are working on, since your schedules may not allow you to pop over to each other's desks for quick updates. Also, having employees who are frequently remote requires extra thoughtfulness to make sure they feel included. This can be remedied with strong communication and optimized one-on-one meetings. we'll take a break and be right back with more look at the 83rd anniversary of the 40-hour work week right after this.
The nightmare continues. Halloween 2.
There's goblins, there's ghouls, there's pirates about. Halloween's coming, the trick-or-treaters are out. But look at that witch on Halloween night. She's the first one with a blinking pumpkin light. Pumpkin light flashes so everyone knows she is near. Pumpkin light makes Halloween safer and scarier this year. And pumpkin light safer for a spooky pumpkin too. Just pop it right in and watch your pumpkin go boo.
Pumpkin Light is available at Osco, Purity Supreme, Spags, and Leewards.
It was a Halloween party where fantasies come true. I put on Showtime makeup and did a dance or two. The boys and ghouls were hanging out like Vamp and Tigress too. My Showtime face was all in place then. Rock Angel, I saw you.
It's Showtime, the adult Halloween makeup. Showtime is hypoallergenic, more comfortable than masks, more fun too.
You know you are my fantasy, but I can't speak to you.
Make up a Halloween fantasy with Showtime makeup.
Peace until they were rudely interrupted.
What do you want to do, Skull? Sit on the gravestone?
I just want to party.
This place is a mess.
Now look who's awake. They're on the way.
Break.
They're back from the grave and ready to party.
I think things are getting out of hand.
The return of the living dead.
Starts Friday, August 16th at a theater near you.
The trick to saving is treating yourself to these Hy-Vee specials. Tombstone Pizza, 2 for $6. Ruffles Potato Chip, $1.88. Nabisco Premium Crackers, 88 cents. And USDA Choice Beef Chuck 7-bone roast, $1.27 a pound. Get low prices all day, every day. Shop Hy-Vee. And low prices.
When you see me, everyone knows what time of year it is. It's Halloween. This Halloween, make sure adults see you coming with shiny, bright yellow Halloween safety bags from Pizza Hut and 28 WPTF-TV. And be careful trick-or-treating this Halloween. Tell your parents where you're going and who's going with you. Before you go out, you can pick up a free Halloween safety bag. Come to any participating Pizza Hut restaurant and pick one up. The Halloween safety bag is free from your friends at Pizza Hut and WPTF-TV.
Hi, I'm a Boglin. Me and my buddies want to be your friend, right, guys? Right. Call us at 1-900-909-5464 and hear how we can protect you from ferocious beasts.
And help you teach your grade your math test.
Yeah, new story every day.
One call gets you a 3D Boglin hologram like this.
4 calls get you a set of 6. Trade them with your buddies.
And part of your $2.35 2-minute call goes to Special Olympics.
So get your parents' permission and call us at 1-900-909-5464. Oh, get the phone. I said get it, not eat it.
Wednesday, it's hot and cold running chills as a big witch brews trouble for America's favorite rabbit in Bugs Bunny's Halloween special.
Me, what's up, witch?
Then Raggedy Ann and Andy get the stuffing scared out of them in The Pumpkin Who Couldn't Smile. 2 Halloween treats starting at 8, 7 Central and Mountain.
From the people who brought you Halloween, more of the night he came home. Halloween 2.
There was nothing within him, not a conscience, no reason that wasn't even remotely human.
Don't miss the all-new Halloween 2. More of the night he came home. Halloween 2, rated R. The horror continues. Now playing at a theater near you.
Well, I'm ready for Halloween.
And if enough trick-or-treaters don't show up, you're ready for next Halloween, too.
No way. Because Laverdia's will give me full credit on all unopened bags of candy purchased at their stores.
This 12-ounce bag of Whoppers milk chocolate or a 10-ounce bag of Milk Duds chocolate-covered caramels only $1.59 at all Laverdia super drug stores.
How sweet it is.
10 polite restaurant habits you don't realize are actually rude. Well, if you ever go to a restaurant or you've been out on a date before and you thought you was getting good reactions from everybody, you might be surprised at what you actually think are polite things, but they're actually rude. We're going to look at them right now and tell you. Leo Goggins wrote this from eatingwell.com from Healthy Lifestyle on February 17th, 2022. No one wants to be the problematic customer in a restaurant, and since waitstaff at many restaurants have been subject to quite a bit of customer abuse during the pandemic, you may find yourself wanting to be the model diner more than ever. There are little things you can do to make the experience smoother for everyone. Have your vaccination information ready if it's required, put on a mask when you're asked to, and leave a good tip. But the other polite habits you may have in your back pocket could backfire on you and your server. We're sure you mean well, but avoiding these unhelpful impulses the next time you hit your favorite restaurant could make life a little easier for your employees. First, find your own seat. You spot an empty table at a restaurant that doesn't take reservations. The host is busy seating another party, so you grab a couple of menus and take a seat. In your mind, you've taken an item off the host's to-do list and basically done their job for them. But you never know what the restaurant system is for seating parties. Unless you're snagging a spot at the bar, you should wait to be seated until the host or another staff member can get you all set up. You ignore the specials. Hear us out. The kitchen staff have come up with something delicious and possibly unique for today's menu. Your waiter has memorized what's available. Don't interrupt when they launch in today's list. If you listen up, you may find that there's a dish to pique your interest. And you chat up your server. It's always a good move to follow your server's lead when it comes to making small talk, even if the restaurant doesn't look busy to you. Your server may have other things to do. Putting in orders, filling drinks, and checking on customers can be tough to juggle, so flagging your server down just to chat is one habit you want to avoid. They won't want to be rude, but idle conversation may cause them to fall behind with other customers. And you ordered from someone else. You're ready to order, but your server is out of sight. Waving over a different server and ordering from them could seriously complicate things. Since your table now has two servers dealing with orders, you can end up with an error on your bill or your server not being aware of any special changes you've made to your order. If you seriously don't see your waiter anywhere, just ask another server to flag them down for you. You'll cut down on your wait time and avoid pointless confusion entirely. You help unload the server's full tray. Whether it's on their arm or balanced on the table, unloading the tray of food is always a bad idea. Your server has everything balanced to perfection, and snagging your dining partner's drink off the edge could send everything falling down. Be patient and let the expert do the serving. And we've all been there, you sharing a story with friends and you end up knocking over a drink in your excitement. It's tempting to hide your mistake by darting over to the bathroom for some paper towels or throwing every napkin in sight at the mess. But you should alert your server instead, especially if you've broken a glass. The last thing anyone wants is you cutting your hand in an attempt to be helpful. They have all the cleaning supplies they need to get the job done quickly and efficiently. Your glass is low, so you help yourself to the pitcher of tea a few steps away. If a manager sees you helping yourself, your server is likely to get an earful for not keeping you topped up. Instead, just wave over your server and ask for a refill. If it's a continuing problem, ask for 2 glasses or let a manager know that your server is forgetting to refill your drink. It's always better to voice your concerns rather than try to fix them yourself. And you stack your dishes. You finished your meal, so you pile up your empty dishes in a neat or not so neat stack. Your server might appreciate the thought, but they probably have their own way of balancing the dishes that keeps them secure on the way back to the kitchen. You may have put them in the awkward position of needing to unstack and restack the dishes at your table. Instead, just leave them where they are and let your server stack everything up when they're ready. And you wait until the end of the meal to split your check. Giving your server a heads up at the beginning of your meal can make it easier for them to organize your separate checks. Instead of waiting until you've eaten, tell them how you'll split the bill as you order to save everyone a headache. And finally, you save your complaints for Yelp. Well, if you end up with the wrong dish or something about the service isn't to your liking, give the restaurant a chance to fix it before you type up a 1-star review. Simply talking to the server or manager about your problem could lead to a quick fix, and you could be doing future customers a favor with your face-to-face criticism. Wow. And there you have it, friends. 10 very helpful tips that can make your dining pleasure a little bit, or in some cases, a lot easier for you and your server. You know, I'm guilty of some of these things, but I never thought I would actually be, you try to clean up your own mess, or you stack your dishes. We do that all the time. Me and my mom will be there. We just stack our dishes right off to the side and put them there. But we've never had any problem with that before. But again, that's what they say sometimes. So those 10 polite habits you don't realize are actually rude. See what happens. See what kind of a reaction you get. Hopefully you don't get yourself thrown out of the restaurant. That would be pretty much detrimental, and you would never want to have a situation like that happen again, where you're fully banned from eating at a place you love so much. It's 9:27 right now, and we're going to go to the editorial. Well, we've come to the end of another great program here. I don't know if it was more or less the boring side of the George Washington Bridge that lost the viewers here, or the 83rd anniversary of the 40-hour work week. And as I mentioned before, and mentioned at the top of every show, if you have an article or news or something that you want us to cover on a particular show of any day of the week, drop us a line. We noticed, or I've noticed, the view count sometimes goes 3, sometimes 4, sometimes 5, and then right now goes to 0. So like no one's watching. Well, to alleviate that problem, I think it's best that everybody gets involved some way or another. What a better time to actually control what you watch by having a say in it. Most of the times when people are trying to come up with a fall schedule or try to make up a schedule to make everybody happy, or to, air shows that people would want to watch with the people that we, record game shows with on a 2-week basis, it comes to a point where we do ask everybody what shows they like to watch or what shows they would want to watch. Well, everybody comes up with a very opinionated answer, and that's good. But we've also found that over the course of, 5 or 6 months, people's attention spans do change. And I mean, they do change to where certain things or certain programs would not be more appealing or less appealing, depending on how you look at it. We still can't figure out our audience's retention as to whether or not they are interested in the shows that we bring them. We base our views on everything, and the statistics say that the shows that have been on longer, like before we actually came up with a fall schedule for those older shows, are the ones that people will stick together to watch. And now that we have a fall lineup to go on, and they're on that fall lineup, we've noticed that the retention has gone down. Why is that? Why is it that if we're trying to schedule a program at a specific time for your convenience, and you tell us what time you want that program to come on, would you not be engaged in it? Why is it that people's attention spans seem to linger off when we've given you everything you wanted with the programming schedule? We've given you everything you wanted with the lineup of the way that the TV shows are going. It gives you an idea of when to plan out your schedule. You do this for when you watch regular TV shows. So why would you not make the exception to do it here on the David 3000 Network? Why must it be a difficult situation in your life to where you cannot plan out a night of watching stuff on YouTube on the David 3000 Network and getting our views up even more, folks? Now, I'm not putting the blame on anybody, And I'm not trying to call out any specific one person or group of people, but I realize that some shows on our network have been committed shows to where people will watch it, and the views prove that those shows have been on as long as they have been on are worthy of their time slots. No doubt about it. No disagreement here. However, it just goes to show you that in a morning program like today, that usually goes on between 8 and 10, you would think that there would be some people hanging around to watch these shows. Now, I don't know if it's me personally that they don't want to watch. It's the person who's hosting the show. Will you have a grudge against it? Something of that sort? These are things that they need to be addressed. And I think it's high time, considering we're in the second month of our 7th month fall schedule, that meetings need to take place and discussions need to be held as to why our views are dropping over the course of the second month of a 7-month fall schedule. Folks, 7 months is like going to school, in a school curriculum year from September to June. It's a very committed thing, and you must commit yourself or not commit yourself. Do yourself a favor. If you're going to commit, great, but don't go 6 months and finally drop off at the 7th month and say, I don't want to commit no more. You're either in it or you're not. Now, either way, we can't stop people from leaving. We sure as can't stop people from coming in. But we can control the situations as far as what programs we're going to air at specific times, what specials we're going to air at this time slot. Will this work? Because a lot of people want to get into the game. And I think that's truly great that everybody wants to host a show some way or another or become part of a co-hosting team. The thing we have to understand is, do we have that time in our busy schedules? We're all busy in some way, shape, or form, whether we're in school, we're in a job, taking care of our kids, taking care of a house. We have responsibilities. We have to learn how to balance these schedules. Work-life balance. It's the same thing with that 40-hour work week. We always try to figure out how many hours a week we can ingest and give to a specific job or task. That's vitally important. It's not for the money. It's not for that, but it's also for the pride and for the results that will help everybody else. Now, as far as gaining subscribers on the channel, that is fantastic. We are doing great. We're at about 1.13K. And it continues to go up. I've seen the subscriber count going up and up and up. However, where are our subscribers when the shows actually are on? Now, folks, we give you time slots as to when things are going on. We've also run into a problem, and I'm guilty of this too, of scheduling something and then descheduling something back. It's something that I have to work on, trying to get myself up at 7 o'clock in the morning. I know. And now taking over this permanent host of DMS 3000 News Live, which I'm very honored and privileged to have. I'm trying to get those Wednesdays, Thursdays, Friday shows for you. But remember, of course, I work another job as well, too. I have to make my money. So somewhere along the line, I'm trying to balance all of that as well. Plus also, too, we do game shows. We record on Monday nights. But now what we figured out is that we can do 2 shows every 2 weeks. So we can do all of our recordings for all of our game shows every 2 weeks. We can do 2 to 3 shows and span that out. And that way we don't have to worry about doing a show every week. We can span that out and spread it out so that way we have time to relax and get things done. Because I also noticed, too, that sometimes the programs go on too late. And if you're a late person, that helps you. But if you're not, you need your sleep at a specific time at night, then it needs to be changed, unfortunately. So, having worked nights and weekends and holidays and all the crappy shifts that I've had done over the course of 25 years, I finally said to myself, well, I'm going to do a job where I create my own schedule, and that way I have time for everybody else. And it's working out. But still, there's a lot of responsibilities that I have to endeavor in my time. And unfortunately, things still have to be changed. Now, we also said at the beginning of the fall schedule that the fall schedule was not permanent. And it's true. It's not permanent. It's something that can be changed at any given time to accommodate other shows or things of some sort. Schedule changes happen, stuff happens, and we have to be able to be wary of that and tell you why shows are being scratched out or if certain shows are not working, because anybody can come up with an idea for a show. That's not a problem. Anybody can come up with the format for a show. That's not a problem either. Execution of that format and that show becomes the problem, because when you do the show at any given time, you run into certain situations, unless you're doing the show by yourself, like I am, where you have no other staff with you at any given time, and you're just, going through the motions and stuff of that sort. You have to understand that stuff will happen. So even though I can get everything ready for tomorrow by putting in a whole bunch of articles and getting the show prepped and everything, one thing might come up that will ruin the entire format of the show. Or one thing might come up that would ruin the entire show and put it into a cancellation mode for that day. Depends. There are factors beyond our control, folks, that make us have to do other things instead of being committed to the David 3000 network. I totally understand that. I think even David St. Dennis himself understands that. Stuff happens. Giving the proper notice is what we need to work on. But again, shows have been canceled at the last minute. We've sent out, reasons as to why things were being canceled or why things were being completely taken off the schedule. Stuff happens at the last second. And of course, being a new show, we don't really get, the meat and bones of what's going on out in the world sometimes. And we have overlooked, certain things that we forgot to cover. Now, being a news program like this, it's hard to cover a lot of stuff. And there's only a certain amount of things that I could cover in a 2-hour show without boring the audience. And by that, I mean boring you as far as what you would lose interest in. Well, I think today I bored you as part of the 92nd anniversary of the George Washington Bridge. You would only find that information fascinating if you were either living in New York or New Jersey at that point. If you lived out somewhere in the Midwest and didn't know what the George Washington Bridge was, even with me explaining it to you in the story form, would not click. And that's okay. It doesn't have to always click. You can always go back. And we always give you the Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia as to where you can get your information from. Sometimes, though, as hard as it may sound, we have articles that are totally pointless, but they're part of the lineup of what's being covered, because then they'll only get like a very small attention span. And we want to make sure, that we have everything covered for that day's news program. Changes are always being made, folks. We can't always help that. We can't control it. We try to give you at least 5 shows a week. But if we give you 3 out of 5, that's the best we could do. But we're working on that. We're getting it down to where everything can flow to its normalcy. But with the holidays coming up, and I do mean the All Saints Day, All Souls Day, all the way to Thanksgiving, that's what we're basically trying to work with. That is, balance it out no matter what day of the week it is. And we have room for that. We have room to always grow. And so far, 61 episodes that we've pulled out of DMS 3000 News Live have come to be. Well, wrapping up this edition of DMS 3000 News Live, once again, gives us a chance to say thank you. We've really enjoyed working with all of our people at the TMS 3000 Network. And we wish you the best of safe travels and, of course, safe days as you plan your day ahead to go wherever you want to go. For me and the Diva 3000 Network, I'm Jason DeCanio. Thank you again. We'll see you on Wednesday, tomorrow, for episode 62 of DMS 3000 News Live. Have a great day. Don't forget, remember to be honest, be real, and to keep it simple, stupid, kiss. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.
Don't forget to subscribe to the David Dyson Network for great more content like this one.